very wonderful to be here and to speak about a topic which is very dear to my heart, and that is our, apart from just academics, we need to discuss all the other things also, which are a very necessary survival skill. And one of them is our skills of collaboration, our collaborative skills, which help us with each and every other thing in life. Whether you're a student, whether uh, even when children are playing downstairs, they need to collaborate in order to be a part of a group. They need to get along with people. They need to know what are the dynamics of a group. So I would love to take this topic ahead, and that is talk about what are collaborative skills, because it is a key skill which actually links up everything else. So, when we have a group that is working together or playing together, collaboration is taking place. And there is some kind of, there is a leader in the group. There are people negotiating. They are all deciding what are the outcomes of a group. So it's really interesting to see children playing, because when we see little children also playing, they are collaborating. And whenever we say that, yes, go down and play or play with your friends, we are actually encouraging these skills. So I'll begin with what is collaborative skill and show all of us know it. We use it so many times in the day, and at all points of time, we are wanting to make sure that we inculcate these skills amongst our children, because they have to get ready for the real world for with the real skills, so that they are able to achieve everything in life with the help of these skills. So it's a kind of an expected behavior that is already, sort of a kind of a thing has to be laid out for the children, because we can't just tell them collaborate. So suppose we have a group, or we tell them, okay, here, this is a group, you all have to work in a group, be it a project or whatever. Maybe it's just simply making a card collectively, and then lay down those subtle, the verbal clues, the non-verbal clues, and set the boundaries that each person has to get involved in that particular group. It's not just for a few people who will be sort of highlighted in the group. So it's like a skill set in itself. Sorry, a collaborative skill is one of the many skills, and it isn't separately only a skill set. It's a whole lot of soft skills that are working together, and that is actually promoting teamwork and collaboration. So collaborative skills are when we tell the students that this is the expected behavior and this is what we have to achieve in our classroom experience. So even now, online classes are going on. These rules and norms are laid out and laid down by the facilitator, so that the outcome can be, we can get the desired outcome. And definitely, we have to assess them also. Collaborative skills are not just about, we have to make sure that we keep assessing these skills. So that is also one of the things. Uh, it actually comes down to collaborative learning. So, what is collaborative learning? So, a collaborative skill is also like a cooperative learning. It's when children get together in a group, answer questions, and then you have these approaches to enhance learning where you have groups of two or more people working together. So collaborative skills are nothing but where you actually first tell them that what are they going to learn from that. Yes. So we have lots of. Could we go back to the other slide for a minute?
So,
Yes, thank you. So here we can see all the children working together, and they have negotiated that we are going to do this, we are going to work together like this, and we are going to have this desired outcome. So to achieve this, it's important whether it's a facilitator, if it's in a school setup, if it's a even if it's a mother with a whole lot of three, four other children with them. Many children have come over, say, to spend some time together, and they're doing some group activity. So even then, there should be some kind of a clear outcome, as in, yeah, this is what is desired, a norm, and we have to achieve this. Say maybe if it's a surprise card or a surprise something, then we are going to achieve this, and each and every person needs to participate, because you have sometimes natural leaders, and or some children who are a little more assertive, so they tend to take the leadership. Leadership is good and it should be promoted. But then to make sure that everyone gets a chance, we have to sort of assign some roles that, yes, I want you to do this. I know you're good at this. So this actually helps them to actually, sort of, they are all involved in it, I would say. So kids are, uh, I mean, they need that kind of thing. So then we can go to the next one now. Thank you. So when we have collaborative skills, the important thing here would be, how do we communicate? Our communication skills need to be strong. So when we communicate, we have to develop that amongst children. Speak out your mind. Be comfortable. Sometimes some children are better at being able to express themselves, better linguistically endowed, better skills, linguistic skills have been honed to perfection, maybe because parents may be more outgoing, or the child has had more chances to express himself. So we have to make sure that whether it's in our a school setup, I mean, I would look at it from an educator's point of view, but even in our homes, in a joint family, we need to make sure that kids are getting that kind of, uh, you know, ability and chance to express themselves. So to be in a collaborative kind of a setup, you need to have your communication skills properly, expressed. Encourage children that it's okay if you make a mistake, we will understand. You keep trying. And then emotional intelligence. A lot has been talked about emotional intelligence, and we have to train our children to be empathetic, to be able to understand, to empathize with someone, because nowadays, in fact, not only nowadays, it has always been that, a lot of people would encourage that you have to look out for yourself. Yes, we do, definitely, we are accountable and we should, but at the same time, kindness, some kind of have, if not sympathy, then definitely empathy for someone else who may be another, having some other concerns. There are so many children with learning concerns. Instead of laughing at them, you should help them to include them also in a group and make sure that they are given responsibility and made to feel important in the group. And that brings us to interpersonal skills. Our interpersonal skills, the thank yous, the please, the ability to listen patiently, to be an active listener, have patience, and not just wait for the other person to finish so that you can start speaking, but to actually listen. That itself is a skill which is we have to train our children in, and that would come with us first listening to them, because sometimes we are so busy, and so often I have done that with my children. I'm just waiting for them that they'll finish, then I'll tell them what I have to say. But then, if we are patient listeners, active listeners, then that is a thing that they will also develop. They will also develop that skill. So, this is when I feel that we have to do it with trial and error, with a lot of diplomacy, and encourage children to, sort of be together, tolerate each other, have an open mind for ideas, brainstorm together, because when we always say, when so many children are together, so many beautiful ideas come, and everyone's ideas have to be listened to, and then whatever works for the group is what we actually do. So that's when our collaborative skills actually, are they come into play. So then we also, can I have the next slide? Yeah. We also had some other collaborative skills. Before I go on to this, I'll just talk about it, and that is, we can also help children with decision making. So many children are, not able to make a decision because we pamper our kids so much that we do not allow them to make decisions. We make decisions for them, and to an extent, yes, we have to, but let them take that onus of responsibility that when I've done this, this is going to happen. I need to weigh the pros and cons. This also helps them to develop their collaborative skills, their critical thinking skills, their adaptability. I think the lockdown has taught us all this adaptability so much, and we have also collaborated on so many things, including I can talk about our massive online learning, how much we learn by collaborating. Initially, so many of us didn't know how to start the whole process of online teaching. From a physical school, we go completely online. But then, with everyone working together, with collaborative skills developed, I mean, we could progress, and now everything and is online, and everyone is working together. So children have also watched us, and they have adapted. So adaptability is something which, I mean, that is something that not only do we learn, but they have also learned. Time management also, that also comes with it, that, we do not, we have to work together. We can't just keep other people waiting. We have to do it in a time frame. So then we come to the, I mean, why do we have, what is it, why is it called a survival skill? So it's a survival skill and a social skill, because we know that the four C's to the 21st century skills are communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. So students need to be able to share their thoughts, questions, and their ideas. They come up with solutions, and they're so good at it because they're so creative. All the kids are extremely creative, and at all times, I mean, uh, I would say that the things that they can think of is something that sometimes we also cannot come up with it, because they are so well connected, whether it is through social media, technology. So our kids are really the ones who uh, actually we have to learn so much from our children, how to get along with people. So they are already there. It's just that we have to point them in the right direction, which is why we call ourselves facilitators. So some of the things are that survival skills also prepare them for all their social skills, because uh, if you want to survive in today's world, you have to be updated. If you have to be updated, you have to get along with people, you have to collaborate. So other things that we do look at is that teach the children at home, teach them in school. And how do we do that? We include some best practices for collaborative learning in the classroom. And I encourage everyone to try that out. And I'm sure all of you have observed it also, how, uh, children have been collaborating in the classroom, right now virtual, but otherwise also as children come back home. So, some of the ways to include best practices for collaborating learning in the classroom, and this is especially for all the educators and children, is that when you break up the children into groups. Right now, we have the Zoom groups, the breakaway rooms, and also we still have group sessions. So the first thing is establish the role of the group. The objective of the group is an important thing to define, and the group should not be too big. So 4 to 5 are a maximum for a larger group. And remember to have diverse aptitudes in that group, so that you get a flavor of all kinds of children, and that children are comfortable. We should not have people who only get along with each other, because the whole purpose of collaboration, is that people would be able to meet and collaborate and discuss and brainstorm together, and have some flexible norms for the school. It should not be so tight that people are not able to interact. Sometimes we try to over, we try to over, we over try to get things together and control things. And as a result, the groups are a bit, too many rules in them. So instead of that, a flexible norm for the school, for the group should be established so that children have the thing to be able to discuss. And this will help them to have an open communication, build trust, get bonded with each other, because nothing works like a group session. Because when you have children working, say, on even if they're doing the SLC or some project that they're working on, so they need to discuss among themselves, communicate, find out who's doing what, be able to trust each other. And then the assessment criteria for by the educators needs to be in place so that right at the beginning, a sort of they can have a pre-test and a post-test. Otherwise, even watching the children, how they are interacting, how they are working together, should be a good enough way to actually assess the children. Different strategies can be used in a classroom. You can have, of course, we all know about role plays. You have buzz groups, and with this, children know that all of them have to be alert also. You can have a fish bowl. These help children to be on their toes and work together, and that feeling of oneness stays there for with them for a long time. Children who have been put together for group activities, long after the activity is over, they still are, all excited about their groups and their friends and all. So we've seen that, when we put children who are a different of different aptitudes and all in a group, children are so what should I say? They are so kind and they're so sweet that they never let others feel left out. And in fact, if there is someone who's being a little aggressive, other children make sure to fight up for the one who is being intimidated, maybe, or being sort of sidelined. And they say, and they try to include everyone. So that's the job of the facilitator. Or if you're in a situation at home and you talk about in a home with many more kids and of different families, then it's important for the adult who is actually taking care of that activity to make those establish those things right at the beginning. This is how it's going to be, because children need direction. We can't leave everything to them. We can put them together and we have to keep on and on monitoring them. So this is how we have your collaborative skills working. And in today's 21st century classrooms, there is so much of technology integration that I think collaboration just happens automatically because it's a collaborative environment, and there's more opportunity for creative expression. And so we can use all that, reflection, justification for their answers, encourage them to speak more and more on all these skills. Can we go on to the next slide? So we always talk about co-curricular activities, how they inculcate collaborative skills, and I'm sure Fatima will agree with me all the more because I think in one of the webinars that we were on together, we were talking. She was talking about her passion, and that is sports, and how how often educators sideline it and say, okay, we can let this sports class be because academics is has to be completed. And I also agree that so often it has been a thing that has happened with me also. But how much children look forward to co-curricular activities, because I mean, this picture tells us there's so much more to a person than only academics. Academics, yes, we have that, of course. We cannot say that it's of no, importance. But then to inculcate, I mean, when we have co-curricular activities, definitely all our collaborative skills come together because we are problem solving. If you're in a, say, a game, say, for example, basketball, because that's the one I used to play, so I'm going to talk about basketball. And what happens is when you are deciding that, okay, this one is going to try to, shoot a goal, and I'm going to try a basket. So we are problem solving. Critical thinking is being built, some kind of creativity. Of course, a lot of teamwork, communication. And definitely, if you want to stay on the team, you have to have a good relationship. Uh, it's each and everything. I mean, our co-curricular activities, even a simple act like painting. And you say that, okay, when you're painting and you're sitting and painting by yourself, how is it helping us? What about the creative thinking? Otherwise, we are going to be only bookish. And so often we put on some music for our children when they are painting because we are bringing in those skills. We are helping them to, come up with thinking about more of these, how to uh, build the creativity, build from there. Because we're going to have many, many more professions later on, and these are all going to come together. And in fact, we are lucky that we have all these kind of sessions now to make parents aware. So, as a parent, I mean, so many years ago when my kids were into that crucial, growing up stage and planning something, I didn't have so many avenues to explore. We didn't know so much. So, I think we have to really thank Alpha Life Skills for providing this kind of a talk and this platform where more and more people can hear this and understand how to take a decision also. And as parents, you all are the most important, what should I say, everything, because you start with the children and you're the alpha and the omega in that sense. You're the beginning and the end, and you actually build everything. But the first thing is that let us have some kind of a non-judgmental communication with children. Let's not compare children. So when we want children to to play in a group, say that yes, I'm sure you all can get along. Sometimes children are fighting, they don't, and then we tend to say, okay, you stay home and watch TV instead. No, that's a disaster. Don't do that. Help them to be friends, and that is by communicating with your child, showing them where they are wrong if they are wrong. If they are not wrong, still helping the group to get along. So a kind of a non-judgmental communication where you're kind of a mediator would help, and let them explore. Just let them come back and tell you, yes, I have read this, I want to read this. Recommend books to them so that they can, the more they read, their mind will open up and they will, keep on and on improving their skills, all kinds of skills, collaborative as well as the others, to communicate better. That Because if you communicate better, it's because your vocabulary is also better. You read better, you communicate, you collaborate, and let them blog if they are more comfortable with technology and they do not want to read so much like how we read a hard paper book more than say maybe a Kindle. Of course, a lot of us will also read on Kindle. Let them do it the medium that they are comfortable with. Let them design a website because they're really good at it. Whereas we'll be struggling, they'll be doing it. Let them integrate technology whichever way they want and discuss their ideas. Keep your ears open. You don't know what you're going to hear because children love to speak to their parents. It's just that sometimes we don't give them enough time. And then later on, we wonder that where did we miss it? How did we not see this was going wrong? So we can encourage children, develop that kind of confidence in them, that yes, we can sort of help our kids. So there are so many stories. I don't know where to start, but I think I have sort of covered them along the way. That collaboration is something that is taught, and in our classroom experiences or in our families, a child who gets along and is able to work in a group and a team is the child who really succeeds not only in the classroom and in a family but in life. So let us all get together and help them to develop this skill. Thank you. And now it's, I think, over to you, Fatima.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Shanila. I think it was a wonderful talk. I'll just share a few comments which have come in the chat box so that we can just have a discussion. Ms. Bhavna is saying that very rightly said, ma'am, allowing children to make their own decision helps them to boost their self-confidence. And also, as one of the questions we've got many questions, but I would just like to ask one question right now for the time being. Since we are talking about children working together and collaborative skills as a whole, sometimes it happens in a group that the learning speeds are different. The learning speeds of children in a group are different. So if there is a situation where maybe the speed is too fast for a particular student, work gets done without knowing that every person in the group has actually understood or not what was done. So how can collaboration work in this aspect so that it helps every student with different learning speeds to learn together and effectively?
Yes, rightly said. Each child has a different speed, and the ones who are a little assertive, they are the ones who actually rush ahead and they are able to finish. So that's where the role of the facilitator comes up, where you have to assign them some roles. That yes, I want to hear every child. Each child needs to participate. X, Y, and Z will all be speaking, and these are their roles. They can interchange among them, but each one has to participate. So this is how a teacher, whether it's in a school experience or if it's at home, let the person, the adult, take charge and assign everyone something to do. So it's up to us not to get over impressed with the ones who can achieve, because that's also another danger that, the ones who can do it, we say, okay, let him speak because he is able to express himself so well. That's when we have to take a step back and say, each child has to achieve his best. And we as educators have to make sure that they reach that place.